Pittsburgh Steelers don't really need Kenny Pickett in week 3 against the Raiders, but it could also be the best game of his season. What's going on, everybody? I'm Noah Strackmine. Thank you for jumping on to Steelers to Go, your daily to-go cup of Pittsburgh Steelers news and analysis. Find us on youtube.com/allsteelerstalk and subscribe anywhere you get your podcast. Today, let's talk about week 3 against the Las Vegas Raiders, a game that the Pittsburgh Steelers should, could, and somewhat need to win. At this point, the attention towards the offense has grown so significantly that it's almost at a breaking point. It's the first time that I've remembered Mike Tomlin acknowledging that a problem needs to be solved right now when it comes to Matt Canada's group. It's been 2 long years of we'll figure it out and a lot of excuses about growth and timing and everything. This year it's, well, yeah, we understand that it has to be fixed and it has to be fixed right now. At the same time, outside of the chance, the fire Matt Canada chance, fans have actually started a petition to fire the offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers. At the time I'm recording this, I want to say it's just under 1,500 signatures, but it was like 12 hours old. So it's going to grow, and it's going to grow probably pretty rapidly once it gains a little bit more attention. Fans have hit a breaking point, but there are also concerns about the quarterback. This is not just Matt Canada. This is Kenny Pickett, and whether or not he is the franchise quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Everybody wants him to be. Everybody believes that what he showcased in training camp and during the preseason and at the end of last year are all traits, all quality, all important enough games that you can walk away and feel confident that he is the franchise quarterback of the Pittsburgh Steelers. But 2 games in, he's had the yips, and nothing has gone his way. He's thrown very inaccurate passes. He's hit points where you have to argue it's possibly more his fault than Matt Canada's that this offense has struggled as much as it is, and even to a point of, well, Matt Canada or fire Canada chance started after a failed third down. You go back and watch that play. I don't know what the play call was. Matt Canada wouldn't admit what the play call was. If it was an option, Kenny Pickett hands that ball off to Najee Harris, it's a first down. Instead, he keeps it, tries to get to the outside, loses a yard. That's on Kenny Pickett. And I don't know what the play call is. I just know that there are plenty of circumstances where the concern for Kenny Pickett is just as high as the concern for Matt Canada. Now, I'll tell you this. It is almost impossible for the Pittsburgh Steelers to believe that they will win multiple games throughout the season because of their defense. But in week 3 against the Raiders, they probably could go win multiple games with their defense, at least 2, because the Raiders offense is as unproductive as it gets, is as concerning as it gets, is probably just a step above the Pittsburgh Steelers. And last week against the Buffalo Bills in an absolute blowout loss kind of showcased, yeah, they're in just as much trouble. The difference is that they don't have a young quarterback that is growing or an offensive coordinator that could be on his way out sometime soon. In a 38-10 loss to the Bills, Jimmy Garoppolo went 16 for 24 for 185 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Their longest runner, or their most rushing yards, was Trey Tucker, who took 1 carry for 34 yards, and Devontae Adams scored a touchdown. Meanwhile, Josh Allen had 274 yards and 3 scores. James Cook had 17 carries for 123 yards, and Gabe Davis had 92 yards and a touchdown. An absolute embarrassment for the Las Vegas Raiders. And it comes off of another unimpressive game against the Denver Broncos in week 1, and it just makes things simple. The Pittsburgh Steelers defense is good enough to probably put this game away, probably give the Raiders very little opportunity to do anything. And yeah, if they score a touchdown, and you can't bank on that, but if you could score 1 touchdown, you possibly have an opportunity to put this game away, so much so that you could win it. You could rely very heavily on Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren in this game and feel very comfortable that you will score points and that you can win this ball game. You could just ignore the passing game as a whole and say, why would we utilize that? Why don't we just run the football? I get our offensive line has struggled, but the Raiders don't have much defensive line at all outside of Max Crosby. We might as well just avoid him and see what Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren could do. I think it could work. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers would walk out of there with the victory, head back to Pittsburgh before they go to Houston, and have an opportunity to go 3-1 in their first 4 games and sit very pretty in a spot where, yeah, even if the offensive coordinator is struggling and the quarterback still hasn't figured it out, you're winning games. And you're in a spot where the playoffs look very likely and the AFC North looks possibly just as likely, and things are on the up and up, even while you're trying to fix your biggest component. Or you could look at the game another way and say, this is the type of game that Kenny Pickett probably is going to perform well in. A road game with a ton of pressure, with no fans breathing down his neck, which I think is huge. Even if I believe it was Vivid Seats says that it's going to be 60% Pittsburgh Steelers fans at Allegiant Stadium on Sunday. It's a totally different atmosphere than Acrisure Stadium. It's a totally different atmosphere than home games with people cheering and people booing and everybody calling you out. This is way more pressure, which I think Kenny Pickett handles, but it's a different type of pressure. It's a, we're on the road, we have to win a football game. The clock's ticking, backs against the wall a little bit. This is when I shine. That's who Kenny Pickett is. He's a winner. We've said that time and time again. Kenny Pickett is a winner. And you can't take a whole ton away from last season because the start of this season has left that next level of concern that is he just a normal quarterback and we don't know concern. But when it comes to that 2-minute drill, when it comes to that back against the wall pressure, Kenny Pickett has succeeded, and he's shown time and time again that that is where he thrives. That is the type of game that he could have against the Raiders. Meanwhile, they don't have much of anybody in the secondary. They really only have Max Crosby on defense. Their offense is so bad that they're not going to put up a ton of points, and they're going to struggle against the Steelers' defense. You just look at the situation and say Kenny Pickett could have all the momentum on his side. It could be a game where maybe it's a fluke in the opposite direction, where Matt Canada calls a good game and Kenny Pickett delivers a good game, and you could walk out of there with some positives. Maybe it's the start of something big. I doubt it, but you never know. But just all in all, you look at the situation and you just feel like this is a game where if Josh Allen could do what Josh Allen did with 274 yards and 3 touchdowns, missing 6 passes, and James Cook, who hasn't been super impressive all season long, could go 17 for 123. And then the week before, you're looking at Russell Wilson with 177 yards and 2 touchdowns. Quarterbacks have been able to do a lot of things against the Raiders. Kenny Pickett hasn't been able to do much of anything, and I'm not saying he's going to be a 250-yard quarterback with 4 touchdowns and no interceptions and throw a perfect game. What I'm saying is he could probably keep you in momentum enough to where you have an opportunity to win it, or your defense could just shut them down enough to where you don't really need the offense. Either way, the formula looks really good for Matt Canada and Kenny Pickett. And this is probably a game that you'll have to boo less at and get less upset about the fact that the Pittsburgh Steelers' 2 biggest components just can't seem to figure it out.